All right, so welcome to the Encouraging Diversity, Growth, and Equity, or EDGE Initiative Supplier Development Program Pre-Submittal Conference. Here's a bit of the agenda. We will be having first a quick welcome, followed by a department overview, then a little bit about the initiative itself, plus a deep dive into the program that you might apply for, the Supplier Development Program, and then an application overview of what you'll see in the application, and then time for any questions or answers. If you have any questions, please add them to the Q&A on Zoom, and I will be monitoring that area. So I will answer your questions at the end of the presentation. So to begin, a little bit about BACP itself, or the Business Affairs and Consumer Protection Department for the City of Chicago, ensures a fair and vibrant marketplace for businesses, workers, and consumers in the city of Chicago. BACP licenses businesses, public vehicles. We also regulate business activity, protect consumers from fraud, enforce Chicago labor laws, and partner with business service organizations and provide educational resources for businesses. This is a list of all of the different BACP departments. The one in red is the one launching this RFP or department. It's a small business or bureau. It's a small business advocacy, which includes recovery and business development programs. A little bit more about small business advocacy. So this is a bureau of the Department of Business Affairs that focuses on supporting the small business ecosystem of Chicago and promoting economic development. We have 3 teams under the Small Business Advocacy Division: the Neighborhood Strategy Team, which is the NBDC programs, Neighborhood Business Development Centers. You can get the idea of the business development centers is that small business owners can receive services in their community and don't have to come downtown for everything they need. Similar with the CBC programs, which are the Chicago Business Centers. They just provide a little bit more services than the NBDCs do. And then we have the Economic Recovery Team, which, I'm sorry, I didn't introduce myself. My name is Isabel Velez-Diaz. I am the Director of Economic Recovery. I lead this team, which includes all of our federally funded programs. We have a lot of programs under small business relief, nonprofit relief, and food equity categories. And apart from this, we also have our EDGE team, which is leading this supplier development program that we'll talk through today. So the Encourage Diversity, Growth, and Equity Initiative, it's an initiative that serves as an essential component to help develop, strengthen, and advocate for Chicago's minority and women-owned enterprises. The EDGE team is committed to cultivating a competitive and diverse economic environment that drives equitable access to contracts and supports growth for success. Under this initiative, we have the Supplier Development Program. So the goal of this program is to provide targeted support to any small business owners who wants to become city contractor. And we also aim to support those businesses succeed once they become a city contractor, many times for the first time. And this will be achieved by providing them with capacity building services such as business development, proposal development, contract management. So basically assisting any business that wants to work with the city from beginning to end, of applying for a city contract to managing that contract and then reporting. And we also want to help businesses who are generally subcontractors be able to become prime contractors and when working with the city. The grantees, and we'll select 1 to 2 organizations for this program, will design, organize, and execute a capacity building program and provide community-based outreach. The selected organizations will receive really a 6 months because it's for 2023. This is an important note. There will be a potential for 2 extensions, 2 one-year extensions, but because this program is launching mid-year, the program will be for 2023, which is a year-long program, but it will technically be 6 months for 2023, but then with a potential to extend 1 or 2 years into 2024 and 25. So the main part of this program is design, organize, and execute a capacity building program. This is what the proposal you will be submitting. The awardees will provide targeted support to small businesses who want to become city contractors. Applicants should be skilled at identifying existing barriers and provide support for procurement opportunities. And the supports are encouraged to have a mix of low-touch group workshops along with very high-touch one-on-one hand-holding and counseling for new organizations. So the awardee will be tasked with doing 3 specific things under the design, organize, and execute. So business development, and this is a very long list. We will share this PowerPoint too with all the attendees, and it will be posted online. So business development, the first thing the awardee will do is support businesses developed by providing tools that can be applied immediately, supporting growth opportunities, and aiding them in building long-term relationship with vendors. The awardee will help businesses learn, develop skills in all of these. It doesn't have to be all of them, but this is an exhaustive list of what we are looking the awardee to train small businesses on. So access to capital, bonding and insurance, finance, human resources, everything they need to run their business and manage their contract. The second part is proposal and grant writing. This is very important to be able to first get the city contract. So the awardee will inform, educate, and provide frequent in-depth workshops on specific topics for small business owners seeking assistance in development proposals. And the awardee should also be aware of all the opportunities that are existing with the city so they can help the small businesses apply to specific contracts that are live or RFP opportunities. And then very importantly, contract managing. We don't only want to award contracts, we want to help those businesses succeed. So it'll be very important that the awardee also helps with the contract management once the small business has a contract, with preparation of financial reports, insurance placement, bonding application, referrals to qualified sources they might need, like bankers and accountants or insurance brokers, and also at the end with reporting and compliance. The grantee must include in their proposal a application process. So this award will be $250,000 per year and will likely be 1 or 2 organizations. So we expect the award to be half of that for each organization per year. We understand that's not enough to serve every single business that wants to receive these services. So the grantee, as part of their program design, should create an application process to select the businesses that will receive the services. The selection criteria must be designed in a fair and equitable manner. And the priority businesses should be small businesses with no or limited contract experience. And as we mentioned, businesses who have been subcontractors but want to become the prime contractors on city contracts. And then the second part is community-based outreach. For this part, we encourage organizations, if their forte is not community-based outreach, working with local community organizations that are good at this and just having them as subcontractors to this program or just working directly with them. But the grantee will be expected to build awareness around city opportunities and this program, and will be expected to design culturally relevant programming and have a deep relationship with the community, or as I said, subcontract with community-based organizations. So the expected tasks are connecting individual small businesses with relevant opportunities, presenting existing roundtables or conducting outreach, and just circulating information and making sure that small businesses in the community know that they can apply for this and that this is an opportunity that they can be a part of to receive assistance to apply for city contracts. And then our selection criteria, all proposals received by the deadline will undergo technical review to determine whether all required components have been addressed. This is very important. Please submit before the deadline. The deadline is not movable. So per regulation, we cannot accept any application that is submitted late. Our systems are not the most user-friendly, which we are aware, but please try to submit early so that if you run into any technical issue, you can fix it before the deadline. Because unless there's a citywide or something that affects everybody, the deadline will not be extended and you will not be able to submit after the deadline. And then proposals determined by BACP to be incomplete will not be considered, and we reserve the right to waive irregularities within its sole discretion. So if we waive a minor irregularity, it will be waived for every single application. And this is the pretty important part for this conference. And if you have any questions about this or anything I've said, as a reminder, please add them to the Q&A box. So the proposals, these are the criteria on which the proposals will be reviewed. The first one and the highest scoring one is program overview. So you will have questions around the mission of your organization, and we will make sure it aligns with the objectives of this program, the strength of the actual plan. So please submit a complete plan because there will be a lot of points on your application. Ongoing plan for performance management, collaboration with other capacity building. We always encourage organizations to apply with other smaller organizations. And then a detailed plan with a timeline. It's also very important. For the second highest ranking one is organizational capacity and monitoring. The mission of organization, again, is aligned with the objectives of the program. And in this one, we are more looking into making sure the organization can handle being part of this program and can, for example, voucher and have the funds to be able to manage this program while it gets paid by the city, which is in a reimbursement way. So just flagging that for any applicants. And if you have any questions, please let me know. And the third one, it's a budget information, overall program cost. As you can see, and this is important, we're not looking for the cheapest option. As you can see, program overview and organizational capacity are higher weight. So that is what we truly care about. For the budget information, we are looking for the completeness of the program and efficiency of the program. And basically that what you are saying you will do, the budget makes sense for what you're saying you will do. But again, don't try to lowball yourself because that is not exactly what we're looking for. We're looking at the most complete, best program that we can fund. But please do submit a budget. There is a budget template on iSupplier, which is where you will be applying, and that needs to be filled, and it needs to make sense based on what you said you would do in your program overview. So make sure it is complete and that it ties to your program overview, but it is not how much, it is how well done it is, what we're looking at. And the last one is overall responsiveness. This is overall points you will get for either completing or not completing this application. If you answered every question but didn't really submit what we were asking for, anything like that, or if you don't submit the required documents, points will be removed for here. So if you have a 501c3, you'll be requested to submit tax returns, all of that. Make sure all the documents are in there, because if you don't submit them in this overall responsiveness categories, where those points will be either allocated or taken back. So for the contract details, the RFP is due the 8th of June at 11:59 a.m. before noon. All of our RFPs close before noon, not at midnight. So this is a very important time and date. As I said, we will not be able to award anybody who submits after the deadline. Please submit it on the 6th. Do not wait until the 8th, because technical issues happen, or as I said, our systems are not the most user-friendly. So the earlier you submit, the better. And this happens every time. So please don't submit the day of, try to submit earlier. As I mentioned, it's a 1-year award, or technically 6 months for 2023, with a potential for two 1-year extensions until the end of 2025. The extension will be determined based on execution of contract terms, program effectiveness, and available funds. So obviously it will depend on you doing a good job the first years. And how to apply the complete application for this RFP, we'll need to set up the applicant needs to set up an account with our e-procurement iSupplier system. And there can only be one response application per ID. So if your organization wants to submit for some reason more than one, you will need 2 different IDs. And now off to the Q&A. I already have some questions. I will see them here. So there's a few questions on the first one. The first question is the RFP for for-profits or not-for-profits? It can be either. It is usually business service organizations just tend to be nonprofits. So the questions seem to be for nonprofits, like asking for a 501c3, asking for their 990. But if you're a for-profit who does this kind of work, you can also submit your tax return, which would be the equivalent, and things like that for other documents. What is the minimum capacity you expect from the organizations that are responding to this? So that depends. We just expect that you are able to work at least a month or two and have enough funds to deal with that, and that you have done this work before. We are looking for experienced applicants who this is basically what they do, is the main target of our proposal. All needs must be met by one vendor. Can you clarify? I don't know where that language is, so if whoever wrote this can write us a little bit more context on that. All the needs must not be met by one vendor, because as I mentioned, you can have subcontractors who can do part of the work. Is it 125,000 per winning organization to the first phase of the work? Yes, so that's likely what will be awarded to the for the first year, which will be for the 6 months, and then maybe extended. We are trying to potentially get more funds for it next year, but right now, if we get 2 organizations, it is likely that it will be about 125,000 per organization. Do respondents need a physical location to meet clients, share resources, and run the programs? You don't have to have a physical location all the time, but you need to be able to meet in person with applicants. A lot of potential businesses sometimes are not good at tech or applying, and as I said, our systems are cumbersome, so there should be some interaction, especially, or like the possibility of interacting one-on-one. You can do a lot of the work virtually, but it should be an option if they are not comfortable doing that. The second question is, are there points given to organizations who are currently certified MBE, WBE? No, that is we specifically as the government cannot prioritize by any race, gender, or religion category. So we do not award any points for MBE, WBE specifically. Third question. How is it divided for the 2 organizations? Each organization will get its separate contract. We expect that they will work together, or at least collaborate a little bit, but basically you will just submit your proposal for the amount, and we will have 2 different contracts with the different organizations who will be running their own programs that are maybe similar but not identical. Any other questions? You can also raise your hand if you want to talk. I can take you off mute, or if you want to add it to the Q&A. I see somebody. There you go.
Hi. Thank you so much for hosting this. My question is, do you have an idea of how many, and my name is Ginger Birkenbill, Burke Creative. Do you have any idea how many hours per week this looks like for you for per agency, not for the total thing, but what do you suspect is the, timing, or not timing, how many hours?
Yeah, I honestly don't have a good sense of how many hours. I like be based on like how much you charge per hour and your budget and what you can feasibly do. I think each organization should submit what they actually will spend based on the amount available. I do expect it to be different throughout, so that it might be a little time heavy at the beginning when you're working not only with the organizations but with us on setting the program up at the beginning, and then maybe just spending time with the awardees. But I think the organizations will be the experts on what that looks like for them.
And then is this set up? Are you looking at this as sort of creating a pilot organization, so that at the end of when you start extending into the next year, potentially third, then basically the IP gets turned over to the city of Chicago and then you can run it yourself? Or is this
Yeah.
something that you're planning and hoping will be forever?
We do hope it will be forever. And I do expect delegate agencies to be running, and then they just continue to fund agencies as we, like we have our MBDCs, which we kind of fund every 2 years. Ideally, that's why we have that 2-year potential extension that will be in the contract. And we're also, we understand that we're starting kind of mid-year. So we expect the first 6 months to be a lot of just setting up the program and having it launched for then extending the contract and doing a lot of the work. Also into next year.
And like,
Delegate
have
agency.
you ever done this before, or is this brand new? And if
Brand
it
new.
isn't, even if it is or is not brand new, where is this modeled in the United States right now that you're getting the idea to do this?
Yeah.
And thank you. That's my last question.
Yeah, no, so we are actually doing a similar program, but instead of for businesses, for nonprofits. And we have actually launched that at the beginning of this year, and that has been pretty successful on just helping smaller nonprofits navigate. It's a nonprofit capacity building program, navigate our contract and become contractors with the city. This one specifically to business, so it's a little different, but it is based on that program that has proven to be successful. We also modeled it around, there's other cities that have done similar programs, and it also started out of a study that was done for the city, particularly to construction workers, but we are expanding it to be anybody who contracts with the city. This came out of an ordinance that I think passed a couple of years ago based on that study.
Oh, what's the program that you're referring to now? Can you share the link somewhere in the chat?
Capacity building one?
Yeah, the one you were mentioning, that it's you're jumping off of that. And then which city program are you referring to? Is it something out of New York or Atlanta, or what is this other program you're saying in the United States? I'd love to see the link to that too. I want to take a look at it.
So I don't remember which one it was, because I wasn't part of that stage of this program, but I will, any questions that we don't have the answers to, we're taking notes and we'll send an email with that. And
Okay, thank you.
But I will share the nonprofit capacity building one, which actually is my program. So that one I know very well.
Oh, that was my last question. Thank you.
Sure, thank you. I just linked to it in the chat. Once I find my Q&A window. Okay, here we go. Is the RFP live? Yes, the RFP is live. You can find our iSupplier. You can also find it on our Edge website, which I will look up, also add to the chat. And yeah, the RFP is live and it closes on June 8th. Can you use subcontractors? Yes, you can use subcontractors, and you're encouraged to do so, especially for the outreach. If that's not something, if your organization is really good at doing capacity building, but not so much at community outreach, we encourage organizations to partner with community-based organizations to do that. Your organization would, based on my understanding, my organization would need to be able to do everything provided on the list, even if it's awarded to 2 organizations. No, the program will be awarded to 2 organizations. We will have one primary contractor so if you work with other subcontractors and they can do some of the work, you're welcome to work with just specialists on whatever. We have a very long list. We expect you will work with subject matter experts on a lot of these things. So you can just work directly with them and have them as subcontractors, so you don't have to do everything on that list. To confirm, there is not an MBE requirement. No, there is no MBWB requirement to either be part of this as a delegate agency or participate in this program. So this program, once the awardee is selected, and there's an application to select which businesses will be receiving the services. It's any small business that hasn't contracted with the city before. That's the only requirement. We're not able to have any other type of it says chat is disabled. Oh, sorry. I think I didn't put it to everybody. I'll do that now. So somebody can tell me if they saw it or not. I am posting to everyone both the nonprofit capacity building program and the link to the EDGE website. Do community organizations have to be listed in the proposal in advance? No, but it helps. If you already have the organization, that is very helpful because we know that you will be. But if you list it, but you can also list, we will plan to work with organizations, community organizations, but just know that by the time the contract is happening, you will have to have them, because if it's on your RFP, it's something that you'll need to be compliant for. So if you add that you'll have a organization that you'll eventually work with, eventually will have to happen. So that's the only flag for that. And it's just probably looks like a more complete proposal if you're already working with them. And same question for subcontractors, same answer. You don't have to add a subcontractor, but obviously already knowing which subject matter experts you will be working with shows that you know those subject matter experts. So it would be better, honestly, if you do list them up front, but it's not required. Thank you, Emmanuel, for adding the data here to the questions. That is in June 8th. Oh, links seem to be broken. Not sure why that is. I added the link again on the chat. If it's not working, I will still add it to the email that we'll send after this. What was the scale of the nonprofit capacity building program? So phase 1 of the nonprofit capacity building program it's a year-long program that had a lot of different pieces. It was a little bigger than that. It was about $1.5 million, and it included a summit, quarterly summits that are still ongoing. So if any of your organizations want to participate, the next one is June 15th. Those are virtual. There is also, that's one organization. Organizations are doing different things for that one. There's our 2 organizations doing something more similar to what we're looking for in this one, which is small group workshops and one-on-one. So like I said, a lot of that hand-holding and more direct assistance. And then in that one, we are directly paying or like contracting with community organizations to do the outreach. So we have about 7, I think, that are doing outreach for that program. So that program is a little larger than this one. We're trying to use both as pilots to say this works or doesn't work, and we can expand hopefully next year, particularly this one. Could you clarify what was meant by creating an application for business owners? Will business owners need to apply for the services? And is there a target scope of how many businesses will receive the services? Great question. There needs, as I mentioned, we understand that we don't have enough. This program just doesn't have enough funds to fund everybody who will probably be wanting to apply for the services. So there needs to be some cohesive process for the delegate agency to provide the services, and just select who applies and make sure that they qualify. By qualify, I mean they don't have other city contracts, or they're trying to expand from sub to prime contractor. So creating an application is just what needs to happen is that the delegate agency will have to have some form, either that's online or will be, but have some form where the business owners can submit their application, so you can make sure that they are eligible businesses, they are operating, they have a tax return or any information that you deemed qualifies them, or like have provided enough information to make sure they're a real business that then can get this assistance. It's the main requirement, and also that they want to work with the city and have not, and that they are a small business. And if you have follow-up questions, feel free to add them to the chat. As this just goes back to the first question, as how many nonprofits were served. That program is still ongoing, so I think we had like 300 nonprofits on the summit, but we are still receiving reports from that program because it's still only halfway through. But there are basically 4 there are weekly workshops, as well as twice a week people can nonprofit staff can go get one-on-one assistance. So there's a lot of hours that we will be eventually we are reporting on, and we'll eventually share. But yeah, it's a lot of like a few hours every couple of days by 2 organizations. So there's a lot of activity on that program, and a lot of nonprofits being served at different levels, because it's from went to a summit to learn what RFPs are coming up to somebody sat down with me and helped me fill the budget. So it's the level of service is varied, but there's a lot of nonprofits. Oh, I see what, sorry, the upcoming RFP opportunity link doesn't take us to the supplier. So that is on the website. Oh, it takes me to iSupplier, but I will double check with our tech people to make sure that link is going to the right place. And I will also share it on the email. Another question about nonprofit, the total amount of the award for both organizations, it was 135. Jonathan, Mikey, if you can send another question for that one. Do you mean, is that question about nonprofits, or is it about this one? How much money? It will be up to 250, but for 2 organizations. Where can the RFP be located? I will share that once I'm sure it's updated, and I will share the link to the RFP on the follow-up email. The specification number, I can give that. Let me. One question: what is the specification number? And I can find it. Here we go. It's 9514. I will answer it on the question so that everybody has it. This RFP, sorry, this is a follow-up question to the previous one of how much funds are for this RFP. Yeah, we have $250,000, which will be split between 2 organizations. And I'm going to, Alexandra Escobar has her hand up. I'm gonna allow to talk. There you go.
No, I was just having an issue because I in my chat is disabled. So I wanted to know just greater clarity on being able to access the RFP, because I haven't been able to find it. And I was also asking about the specification number in hopes of being able to access it.
Great, yeah, so it's 9514. And once this meeting is over and I share the information of other questions that I haven't been able to answer, I will include the link and a PDF of the RFP.
Thank you so much.
Sure. All right. If anybody has any other questions, please let me know. Let's come to the chat or raise your hand. I'm very excited about all the questions. I think this is the time where I've gotten the most specific questions to the program, so that's great. I think that's probably great news for the application. So if you have any other questions, feel free to ask. If not, I will let you get back. Please feel free to follow up with any questions. And as I mentioned, I will, I got one. Thank you. Wanted to follow up on the scope. Is one-on-one assistance preferred or more of a cohort-based class program that could reach more businesses? Also, is there any restriction if an organization is already an active NBDC with the city? So if you can apply if you're an NBDC, there is no problem with that. One thing for this city contract and any city contract is just, this will be on your end and not ours, but just make sure that if you allocate staff, it adds up to 100. So if you have a program manager that's doing 50% of their time for the MBDC, they can't do 75% for this one because it'd be over 100, and that will be an audit problem for you. But apart from that, it's totally fine as long as you're not what we call like double dipping. So you can't charge rent on a space for both the NBDC and this program because you will be charging twice. That is the only restriction. As for the scope, we do expect to have a mix for this program. So we expect to have some cohort-based group, but also some more one-on-one in case they need like more hand-holding and just going through like their budget or getting them in contact with bonding or capital or anything that they need. So the idea of this program is just meeting their small businesses where they are. So some of them might just go to a workshop or a smaller cohort meeting and get everything they need from that. Some of them might need a little bit more hand-holding. So the idea is you will know your business community best. So just providing whatever they need, which might be either of those, a mix of those. That's why you need to decide on what to add to your proposal. I think in the proposals, we are not looking for anything that specific. We don't have anything in, I mean, we do have some in mind of like what this will look like, but it's very important that you, when you write your proposal, mostly tie what you're proposing to the need that you know exists or your experience or what you know businesses need based on your experience. I think that is very important for our how we read it and what we are looking for. Thank you. Last chance for questions. Okay, in the scope, there were a list of areas that the contract awardees would help the businesses with. You said that each vendor looking to receive a contract here does not need to fill those areas. Yeah, I mean, you will need to do as much of that as you can. Obviously, that's sort of the categories where we're looking for. Your organization doesn't have to directly do everything. So if you know somebody who's better at access to capital than your organization is, you can have them as a subcontractor and just work directly with them, as long as you're meeting as much of that list as possible. But those are just a list of where we know small businesses need assistance. If you know other things that you might want to add to the list, or you don't think you need to do all of those, that is fine. As I said, it's a very exhaustive list. That's just like an example of the areas or where we want this assistance to help, knowing that this program is not, there's limitations on how much you can do with your staff and just the funds that are available to you. Is each area going to have to be covered or possibly not every area? Whoever wrote the question, can you specify if you're talking about the area like subject matter or geographic area? As I mentioned in the previous answer, not all the subject matters have to be addressed by everybody. And also not every geographic area, although the more areas that can be serviced, the better for the organization. All right. Great. So if there are no more questions, we'll leave it here. As I mentioned, feel free to email us if you have any questions, and we will follow up with any that were not answered on the email. And I will also share the RFP itself as a PDF and the link to access it on iSupplier. Thanks everybody for joining. Looking forward to reviewing all these applications, and let us know if you need anything.